Welcome back to our sanctuary of stories. Before we begin tonight's journey, take a moment to silence the world around you. Adjust your pillows. Pull the covers up to your shoulders. Let the tension of the day dissolve into the mattress beneath you. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a second and let it out slowly. Tonight, we are leaving behind the stories of heroes and underdogs. We are stepping away from the warmth of the campfire and walking into the cold, sterile halls of an empire. This is the story of Frieza. It is not a tragedy, though it is filled with tragic events. It is not a hero's journey, though it shaped the greatest heroes in the universe. It is a history of power. It is the story of a being who believed with every fiber of his soul that he was the rightful ruler of existence. Most stories begin with a struggle. This story begins with a glass of wine, a view of the stars, and the silence of a galaxy that is terrified to speak. So, close your eyes. Imagine the hum of a massive spaceship engine. Imagine the cold, beautiful light of a nebula reflecting off a white biosuit. Let us drift back to age 731, to the beginning of the Cold Dynasty. The universe is vast, chaotic, and filled with untamed life. But in the northern galaxy, there was order. This order was not maintained by laws or treaties. It was maintained by the Cold Force. King Cold was a titan. A massive being of horns and cape, he sat upon a floating throne that hovered silently through the corridors of his flagship. He was not a warrior in the traditional sense. He was a CEO, a conqueror. To him, planets were not homes for civilizations. They were real estate. They were assets to be purged, renovated, and sold to the highest bidder. For centuries, King Cold ruled the stars with a grip of iron. He was feared not just for his power, which was immense, but for his cruelty. He did not destroy out of anger. He destroyed out of efficiency. He viewed empathy as a defect, a glitch in the programming of a perfect ruler. But even tyrants grow old. Even empires need heirs. In age 731, King Cold made a decision that would change the fate of the cosmos. He decided to retire. He decided to hand the keys of the universe to his son, Frieza. At the time, Frieza was young, though his race ages differently than ours. He was smaller than his father, sleeker. While King Cold was a brute of muscle and height, Frieza was compact, elegant, almost delicate in appearance. He did not wear armor. His body was armor, a bioorganic shell of white and purple that shimmered under the artificial lights of the ship. His eyes were red, deep pools of crimson that seemed to absorb the light around them. The transfer of power took place in the observation deck of the Cold flagship. The room was massive, a cathedral of glass, looking out over a conquered star system. The silence in the room was heavy, broken only by the rhythmic breathing of the king. King Cold swirled a goblet of red wine in his hand. The liquid caught the light of a distant sun, looking like blood. "Look at it, Frieza," he boomed, his voice deep and gravelly, vibrating through the floor. "Everything the light touches is yours. The planets, the resources, the lives. It is all inventory." Frieza stood by the glass, his hands clasped behind his back. His tail flicked idly like a cat watching a bird. He looked out at the swirling galaxies, at the infinite potential for dominance. "It is a bit messy, isn't it, Father?" Frieza said. His voice was smooth, high-pitched, and dripping with a refined accent. It was a voice that commanded attention without ever needing to shout. "There are so many unruly elements, so much filth." "That is the job," Cole chuckled, taking a sip of his wine. "We are the gardeners of the galaxy. We prune the weeds so the flowers, our prophets, can grow. Sometimes that requires a gentle touch. Sometimes it requires a supernova." Frieza smiled. It was a small, thin smile that did not reach his red eyes. "I suppose so. Though I think I shall prune a bit more aggressively than you did, Father. You let too many weeds grow tall in the name of patience." King Cold laughed, a sound that shook the room. "I expect nothing less. Ambition is the mark of our bloodline. But remember my one rule, my son. There are only two entities in this universe you must never challenge. Majin Buu and the God of Destruction, Beerus. Everyone else, they are merely ants beneath your feet." Frieza nodded slowly. He looked out at the stars. He didn't see beauty. He saw property. He saw a universe that was waiting to be tamed, categorized and sold, and he intended to be a very strict landlord. From that day forward, the Cold Force was rebranded. The banners were changed. The armor was repainted. The name King Cold faded into history, replaced by a name that would become synonymous with terror. The Frieza Force was born. Under Frieza's rule, the organization became a machine. Imagine the scale of it. Thousands of ships moving through the galaxy like a swarm of locusts. These were not crude vessels. They were marvels of engineering. Circular, disc-shaped ships that glided through the vacuum without a sound. They were sleek, white, and polished to a mirror sheen. They could enter an atmosphere without shaking, landing silently in the center of a capital city. They could level a continent from orbit with precision lasers that left the infrastructure intact for resale. The hierarchy was absolute. It was a pyramid of power built on fear and competence. At the bottom were the grunts, aliens from 1,000 conquered worlds drafted into service. They wore the standard armor, white chest plates with yellow or brown shoulder pads made of a proprietary material that could stretch and absorb impact. They were given blasters and scouters, devices that turned the spiritual energy of a living being into a cold, hard number. To the Frieza Force, a soul wasn't a mystery, it was a data point. Above them were the elites, warriors like Zarbon and Dodoria. Zarbon was beautiful, vain, obsessed with his appearance. He wore his hair in a long braid and accessorized with jewelry. He served as Frieza's right hand, offering counsel and flattery in equal measure. He was the diplomat, the one who delivered the ultimatums with a smile. Dodoria was a brute, a pink-skinned wall of muscle covered in spikes. He handled the dirty work that Frieza didn't want to touch, crushing rebellions with his bare hands. And at the very top, sitting in his hover chair, was Frieza. He rarely walked. Walking was for servants. Walking implied effort. Frieza glided. He moved through his ship in a floating pod, sipping wine, checking reports on a datapad. The pod hummed quietly, a sound that terrified his subordinates more than any shout. "Sector 4 conquest complete, Lord Frieza," a soldier would report, bowing so low his nose touched the cold metal floor. Sweat would bead on the soldier's forehead, dripping onto the polished tiles. "Excellent," Frieza would reply, barely looking up from his screen. "And the population?" "Exterminated, sire. Resistance was minimal." "Good. Prepare the planet for sale. The Carnassians are looking for a new homeworld. Their previous one had a rather unfortunate accident involving a meteor. See if they will pay double for the existing infrastructure." This was the horror of Frieza's reign. It wasn't chaotic evil. It wasn't a rampage of destruction for the sake of destruction. It was corporate evil. Genocide was just a line item on a spreadsheet. The destruction of a culture was just market preparation. The enslavement of a race was just human resources management. Frieza brought a terrifying sophistication to tyranny. He spoke politely. He used proper grammar. He called his victims monkeys or pests with a sneer of aristocratic disgust. He killed with a finger beam, a clean, precise puncture wound, rather than a messy brawl. He didn't like to get his hands dirty. He preferred to watch the light go out of his enemy's eyes from a comfortable distance. He was the emperor of the universe, and he made sure everyone knew it. Even the proudest warrior race in the galaxy, the Saiyans. They were a race of barbarians living on Planet Vegeta. They were strong, aggressive, and obsessed with fighting. Their culture was built entirely around combat. A Saiyan's worth was determined at birth by a scouter reading. Weak babies were sent off to conquer easy planets. Strong babies were raised in the royal nurseries. For years, they had been the muscle of the Cold Force. They were the shock troopers sent in to clear the most difficult planets. They were effective, ruthless, and cheap to employ. King Cold had used them as blunt instruments. He kept them on a leash, but he let them have their pride. He let them have a king. He let them believe they were partners in the empire. Frieza had no patience for their pride. He viewed the Saiyans with utter contempt. To him, they were dirty, loud, and uncivilized. They ate raw meat. They howled at the moon. They lacked refinement. They were tools that talked back. Monkeys, he called them. It was a slur he used with relish, enjoying the way it made the proud warriors bristle. But they were useful. Their power levels were consistently high. They grew stronger every time they fought. A biological trait called Zenkai that allowed them to recover from near-death experiences with increased strength. They conquered planets in days that would take regular soldiers months. So, Frieza kept them. But he tightened the leash. He arrived on Planet Vegeta shortly after taking power. His ship descended on the Red World, casting a massive shadow over the Saiyan palace. The red dust of the planet swirled around the landing gear as the ship touched down. King Vegeta came out to greet him, bowing, swallowing his pride. Behind the king stood his elite guard, Nappa and others, their faces masks of suppressed rage. Frieza floated out of his ship, hovering just above the ground so his feet wouldn't touch the red dust. He looked around at the primitive architecture, at the brutalist stone buildings. "King Vegeta," Frieza said, smiling that thin, cruel smile. "I have brought you new scouters, a gift, to help you serve me better." He tossed a box of devices at the king's feet. It clattered on the stone. It was an insult. It was a reminder. I provide the technology. You provide the labor. Without me, you are nothing. King Vegeta gritted his teeth. He looked at the box, then up at the floating tyrant. "Thank you, Lord Frieza." "And," Frieza continued, examining his fingernails, pretending to find a flaw, "I expect the conquest of Planet Kanasa to be finished by the end of the month. Do not disappoint me. I would hate to have to restructure my workforce." The threat hung in the heavy red air. Frieza turned and floated back to his ship, his tail swishing behind him. Inside the palace, the Saiyan elites raged. They threw tables. They punched walls. They were warriors. They were the conquerors of worlds. To be treated like servants by this lizard, it was humiliating. But they did nothing, because they had scouters. And when they looked at Frieza through those green lenses, the numbers broke the machine. Frieza's power was not just higher than theirs. It was astronomical. It was a number so large it ceased to have meaning. It was the difference between a candle and a supernova. To fight him was suicide. So they bowed. They conquered. They served. And Frieza watched them from his ship, sipping his wine, his tail flicking back and forth, waiting for an excuse. Paranoia is the shadow of power. When you stand at the top of the mountain, you spend all your time looking down, wondering who is climbing up to push you off. As the years went on, Frieza began to notice something. The Saiyans were getting stronger. It was slow, incremental, but undeniable. Every time they returned from a mission, their battle power had increased. They were evolving. They were adapting. They were learning how to use the technology Frieza had given them. They were becoming organized. And there were rumors. Old legends whispered around campfires in the Saiyan barracks. Stories passed down from elders who remembered a time before the Cold Force. Stories of a warrior from 1,000 years ago, a Super Saiyan, a being of golden light and limitless power who could challenge even the gods. Frieza was a man of science and logic. He didn't believe in fairy tales. He didn't believe in magic. Super Saiyan? He laughed to Zarbon one evening. A bedtime story for monkeys to make themselves feel special. A delusion of grandeur. But the thought planted a seed of doubt in his mind. A tiny, nagging thorn. Frieza was a prodigy. He had been born with a power level of 120 million. He had never trained a day in his life. His strength was a birthright, a static fact of existence. The Saiyans were different. They struggled. They clawed their way up. And there were millions of them. What if they banded together? What if a group of elite Saiyans, Vegeta, Nappa, Bardock, attacked him all at once during a full moon. He could kill them, surely, but it would be annoying. It would be messy. He might even get a scratch. And what if the legend was true? What if one of them unlocked that golden power? Frieza sat in his hover chair, staring at the red planet on his viewing screen. He swirled his wine, watching the vortex of liquid. "Sarbon?" he said quietly. "Yes, Lord Frieza?" The beautiful alien stepped forward, bowing. "Open the airlock. I want to step outside." "Sire? But we are in deep space." "I know." Frieza floated out into the vacuum. He didn't need air. He survived in the cold nothingness of space as easily as he did on a ship. He floated there, a small white speck against the backdrop of the stars, looking down at Planet Vegeta. He saw the cities glowing in the dark side of the planet. He saw the palace. He saw the millions of lives scurrying about, training, eating, sleeping, plotting. He imagined them down there, sharpening their claws, whispering his name with hatred. He felt a flicker of fear. Not fear of any individual Saiyan, but fear of their potential. Fear that one day a monkey might stand up and look him in the eye without flinching. He decided then. It was time to close the account. The asset had become a liability. The experiment was over. The order went out in H737. It was a simple message, transmitted to every Saiyan pod and outpost in the galaxy. It appeared on scouters and ship consoles across a dozen sectors. Attention, all Saiyan personnel, return to Planet Vegeta immediately. Mandatory strategy. Briefing. Attendance is compulsory. Lord Frieza will be addressing the troops. It was a lie. A corporate memo designed to gather the sheep into the pen before the slaughter. Most Saiyans obeyed without question. They were soldiers. They followed orders. Ships began to stream back to the homeworld from every corner of the northern galaxy. Thousands of ports, cutting through the stars like silver rain. They landed in the spaceports, crowding the bars, greeting old friends. The planet swelled with the return of its children. Only a few sensed the trap. Bardock, a low-class warrior with a brilliant mind for battle and a cursed gift of foresight, felt the wrongness of it. He had seen visions, visions of fire, visions of a planet cracking. He sent his son, Kakarot, away in a pod to a distant, weak planet called Earth, hoping to save at least one drop of Saiyan blood. He tried to warn the others. He ran through the streets of the capital, bloody and desperate, shouting that Frieza was going to kill them all. They laughed at him. "Frieza needs us," they jeered, raising their mugs of ale. "We are his best soldiers. We are the heart of the Empire. Why would he destroy his own army?" They couldn't understand the mind of a tyrant. They thought they were partners. Frieza thought they were tools. And when a tool becomes dangerous, you discard it. The day of the briefing arrived. Planet Vegeta was full. The sky was crowded with ships. The barracks were overflowing. The Saiyans waited, drinking and boasting, wondering what new conquest Frieza had planned for them. They looked up at the sky, expecting a speech. High above the atmosphere, Frieza's flagship opened its main hatch. Frieza floated out in his hover chair. He was alone. He didn't bring an army. He didn't bring his elites. He wanted to do this himself. He wanted to watch the fireworks up close. He floated above the planet, the red sun casting long shadows across his white skin. He looked down at the world beneath him, humming a little tune. Bardock flew up to meet him. One lone warrior, fighting through hundreds of Frieza's foot soldiers, desperate to change the future. He reached the upper atmosphere, his armor cracked, his body broken, but his spirit burning. "Frieza!" Bardock screamed, the sound lost in the vacuum, but the intent clear. He charged an energy blast in his hand, pouring his life force into it. "This is the end. For me, for you, and for Kakarot." He threw the blast. It was a brave, defiant spark of blue light against the darkness of space. Frieza looked at it. He chuckled. A low, malicious sound that vibrated in the vacuum. He raised one finger. A small ball of energy appeared at the tip. It was orange, like a miniature sun. It crackled with power. It grew, and grew, and grew. Within seconds, it was a massive, swirling sphere of death, pulsing with enough energy to crack the crust of a world. It dwarfed Frieza. It dwarfed his ship. It cast a hellish orange glow over the entire hemisphere of the planet below. The supernova. "Here," Frieza whispered, a smile stretching across his face, revealing his sharp teeth. "Have a parting gift." He flicked his finger. The supernova descended. It swallowed Bardock's blast effortlessly. It swallowed Bardock, erasing the brave warrior from existence in a millisecond. It descended through the atmosphere, burning away the clouds, boiling the oceans. Down on the surface, the Saiyans looked up. They saw the sky turn orange. They saw the death coming. The laughter stopped. The boasting stopped. In the final seconds, as the heat began to strip the flesh from their bones, they finally understood what they were to Frieza. They were nothing. The sphere hit the planet. From space, it was beautiful. The crust buckled, magma sprayed into the void. The planet cracked like an egg, lines of fire racing across its surface. The core destabilized. And then, in a silent, blinding flash of white light, it was gone. Planet Vegeta was dust. An asteroid field of red rocks floating in the dark. Frieza floated in his chair, bathed in the glow of the destruction. He laughed. It was a high, manic laugh of pure delight. "Look at the fireworks, Zarbon," he crowed. "Beautiful, absolutely beautiful." He took a sip of his wine, watching the debris drift away. The Saiyan race was extinct, or so he thought. He turned his chair around and floated back to his ship. The business deal was concluded. The liability was liquidated. The monkey problem was solved. Frieza went back to his schedule. He had planets to sell. He had an empire to run. And he slept soundly that night, untroubled by ghosts, unaware that a single pod had escaped the destruction, carrying a baby who would one day make him regret everything. But that is a story for another time. For now, the Emperor reigns supreme. the galaxy is quiet, and Frieza is the master of all he surveys. Planet Namek was a jewel in the darkness of the cosmos. Unlike the harsh red rock of Planet Vegeta or the bustling metallic metropolises of the galactic core, Namek was serene. It was a world of water and vegetation, a biological sanctuary that had remained untouched for generations. Islands of mossy rock floated in endless turquoise oceans that stretched to the horizon. The grass was a vibrant blue, swaying in the gentle breeze like a living sea. The trees, the Aisa, were tall and slender, not growing leaves, but rounded tufts of vegetation that looked like clouds caught on branches. The Namekians who lived there were a peaceful people. They were farmers, healers, and mystics. They did not build cities of steel. They lived in harmony with the land. Their homes were built into the earth, shaped like white shells with purple spikes, designed to weather the fierce storms that occasionally swept the planet. They did not have armies. They did not have weapons of mass destruction. They had only their connection to the land and to each other. They were a civilization built on wisdom, not conquest. But peace, in Frieza's universe, is a beacon for predators. It is a signal that says resource undefended. Frieza had learned a secret. A whisper caught on a scouter transmission, a fragment of data, stolen from a dying Saiyan. The Namekians possessed magic. They had their own Dragon Balls, orbs capable of granting any wish, even the wish for eternal life. Immortality. It was the one thing Frieza lacked. He had power, he had wealth, he had an army that spanned sectors. But he was mortal. He could age, he could sicken, he could die. And for a being who believed himself to be a god, the concept of death was an insult. It was a design flaw he intended to correct. So the Frieza Force came to Namek. They did not come to trade. They did not come to negotiate. They came to take. Frieza's ship landed in a meadow of blue grass. The massive landing struts crushed the soil, leaving deep scars in the earth. The engines burned the air, leaving the scent of ozone and fuel hanging over the pristine landscape. The ramp lowered, and the Emperor floated out in his pod. He took a deep breath of the Namekian air. It was sweet, smelling of Ajisa trees and fresh rain. It was the smell of life. "Charming," Frieza remarked, his voice cutting through the tranquility like a razor. "Zarbon, Dodoria. Find the villages. Bring me the Dragon Balls. If they refuse, well, you know what to do." The nightmare had begun. The hunt for the Dragon Balls was methodical. It was brutal. It was efficient. Frieza did not rush. He moved from village to village with the slow, inevitable momentum of a glacier. He would arrive, his pod hovering over the terrified elders, blocking out the light of the three suns. He would ask politely for the ball. "Please," he would say, smiling that thin, reptile smile. "I would hate to damage such a lovely village. I am a reasonable man. I only want what you have hidden." When the elders refused, protecting their sacred artifacts, protecting the legacy of their ancestors. The politeness vanished. It evaporated like mist in the sun. Dodoria and Zarbon unleashed hell. They didn't just kill, they erased. Beams of energy tore through the shell houses, reducing them to rubble and dust. The blue grass was stained purple with Namekian blood. The screams of the villagers echoed off the canyon walls, a chorus of tragedy that Frieza listened to like a symphony. He watched the destruction with a detached curiosity, as if he were watching a science experiment. He watched it all from his chair, his face a mask of bored indifference. To him, these weren't people dying. They were obstacles being removed. They were data points that refused to align. But amidst the slaughter, there were complications, anomalies in the plan. Vegeta, the wayward Saiyan prince who had survived the destruction of his homeworld, was also on Namek. He was rogue, stealing Dragon Balls for himself, killing Frieza's men in a desperate bid for power. He moved like a ghost, striking and vanishing, dismantling Frieza's command structure piece by piece. And then there were the Earthlings, Gohan and Krillin. Small, insignificant insects scurrying around the edges of the battlefield, hiding in caves, stealing Dragon Balls right out from under Frieza's nose. Frieza found them annoying, like gnats buzzing around his face. He sent his Ginyu Force, a team of elite, eccentric mercenaries, to deal with them. He expected it to be quick. He expected them to be crushed. It wasn't. The Ginyu Force fell, not to Vegeta, but to a newcomer. A Saiyan who had arrived from Earth in a spaceship built by a scientist named Brief. A Saiyan who looked shockingly like the man who had defied Frieza in the upper atmosphere of Planet Vegeta all those years ago. Goku. Frieza sat in his ship, listening to the reports coming in over the comms. The Ginyu Force defeated, Rekume defeated, Burta defeated, even Captain Ginyu, his most loyal soldier, the man who had never failed him, defeated. Frieza felt a twitch in his tail. The old fear, the one he had buried under layers of arrogance and wine, began to stir. The monkey problem had returned. Saiyans, he hissed, crushing the armrest of his chair into powder. Why do they persist? Why won't they just die? He realized then that he couldn't delegate this anymore. The help was incompetent. If he wanted immortality, he would have to step out of his chair. He would have to get his hands dirty. He flew toward the location of the Dragon Balls. He flew toward the home of the Grand Elder Guru. He flew toward his destiny, leaving a trail of violet energy in his wake. Frieza found them. Vegeta, Gohan, Krillin, and Dende the healer. They had used the Dragon Balls while Frieza was distracted. They had summoned the dragon Porunga. They had wished for Piccolo to be resurrected and brought to Namek to fight. But the wish for immortality, they had failed to grant it to Frieza. Just as Frieza arrived, desperate and shouting his wish, the Grand Elder Guru died of grief and age. The dragon disappeared. The sky turned from black back to green. The balls turned to heavy, useless stone. Frieza stood on a rocky island, staring at the inert stones. His dream, his eternity, gone. snatched away by children and monkeys. For a moment there was silence. The wind whistled through the crags. The water lapped against the shore. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Then Frieza began to shake. It wasn't fear. It was rage. A rage so pure, so concentrated, that the air around him began to distort. The ground cracked beneath his feet in a spiderweb pattern. Pebbles floated into the air, suspended by the sheer pressure of his ki. "You," Frieza whispered. His voice was low, trembling with the effort of containment. "You worms, you maggots, you denied me my wish." He looked at Vegeta. He looked at the children. "I will make you suffer," Frieza promised. "I will make you wish for death long before I grant it to you. I will dismantle you bone by bone." Vegeta stepped forward. He was shaking too, but he forced a grin. He tried to summon the arrogance of his bloodline. "You're too late, Frieza. You've lost. And now you're facing a Super Saiyan." Frieza laughed. It was a dry, cracking sound. Super Saiyan? Still clinging to that fable? Very well, I suppose I should show you the reality of your situation. Frieza began to remove his armor. He cracked his neck. "You see," he said calmly, "this form you see before you, it is merely a container, a shell to conserve my power. Because if I were to walk around in my true form, I might accidentally destroy the universe while sleeping. It takes effort to be this small." He smiled. "I have transformations, 3 of them to be exact, each one unleashing a fraction more of my true nature." The Z fighters froze. Transformations? His power was already overwhelming in his first form. He had killed King Vegeta with a single punch in this form. The idea that he could get stronger, it was impossible. It was a nightmare. "Shall I show you?" Frieza asked. He clenched his fists. He threw his head back. The transformation began. It was grotesque. It was biological horror. Frieza's armor shattered, exploding outward. His body began to expand. His muscles swelled, tearing through the biosuit. His height doubled, then tripled. His horns grew, curving upward like a bull's, sharp enough to pierce tank armor. The sky darkened. The ocean churned, massive waves crashing against the island. The very planet seemed to groan in protest at the power being released. When the dust cleared, Frieza stood there. He was a giant. He was massive, imposing, a towering demon of muscle and horn. He looked down at them like a titan looking at ants. His voice had changed, deepening into a baritone rumble that vibrated in their chests. "Now," Frieza boomed, "who wants to die first?" The battle that followed was not a fight. It was an execution. Frieza, in his second form, moved with terrifying speed for someone so large. He impaled Krillin on his horn, tossing the strongest human like a ragdoll. He toyed with Gohan, crushing the boy into the dirt, enjoying the screams. But then Piccolo arrived. The Namekian warrior, fused with the strength of Nail, the strongest warrior of Namek, arrived on the battlefield. He was stronger than anyone expected. He fought Frieza. He matched him. For a brief, shining moment, it looked like the heroes might win. It looked like the nightmare might end. Frieza wiped a trickle of purple blood from his lip. He looked at Piccolo. He wasn't angry. He was delighted. "Impressive," Frieza said. "I haven't had to use more than a fraction of my power in years. You actually hurt me. But I think... yes. I think it is time to escalate. I think I will show you something even more terrifying." He transformed again. Third form. This one was hideous. His skull elongated, stretching back like an alien xenomorph. His shoulders hunched. Spikes erupted from his back. He looked less like a warrior and more like a monster from the deep ocean. A creature designed solely for predation. He pointed a finger at Piccolo. A barrage of energy beams, faster than light, riddled the Namekian's body. Piccolo fell, unable to track the speed. "Boring," Frieza sighed. "None of you are entertaining me. You break too easily." He looked at the despair on their faces. He drank it in. "I have one more form," Frieza whispered. "My true form. The form I was born in. The form that my father feared. Would you like to see it?" Vegeta couldn't breathe. He was paralyzed by the realization that they were fighting something that had no bottom. Frieza was an abyss. Every time they thought they found the limit, the floor dropped out. Frieza began the final change. The shell cracked. The monstrous, elongated body shattered like porcelain. Light poured out, blinding white light. The energy output was so high that it created a hurricane. The ocean evaporated. Islands were ripped from their foundations and thrown into the sky. The clouds were pushed away, revealing the dark void of space. And then the light faded. Standing in the center of the crater was a small, sleek figure. He was smooth, white as bone, with purple sections on his head and chest. He didn't have giant muscles. He didn't have giant horns. He looked simple, perfect, streamlined. Frieza raised a hand. He pointed at Dende, the healer, the boy who had been keeping the heroes alive. A single tiny beam. Dende fell dead, smoke rising from his chest. "There," Frieza said, his voice returning to that polite, high-pitched tenor. "Now, you can't heal anymore." The game was dragging on. "Let's begin the final round, shall we?" Vegeta attacked. He poured everything he had into the assault. His pride, his rage, his fear. He fired a blast that could have destroyed a solar system. He screamed his defiance at the monster. Frieza kicked it away. He didn't block it. He didn't dodge it. He kicked it. Like a soccer ball, he beat Vegeta. He didn't just beat him. He dismantled him. He broke his spirit. He tortured the prince of all Saiyans until Vegeta was lying in the dirt, crying. Crying not from pain, but from the absolute shattering of his worldview. He had spent his life believing he was the strongest. He had spent his life believing he was the Super Saiyan. Frieza showed him he was nothing. Then Goku arrived. Goku had healed in the medical machine. He arrived on the battlefield, calm, focused. He saw the devastation. He saw Vegeta beaten. He saw Dende dead. Goku stepped forward. Frieza looked at him. "Another monkey? I thought I exterminated you pests." Vegeta, broken and dying on the ground, laughed. A wet, gurgling sound. He is the one, Frieza. He is the Super Saiyan. He will kill you. Frieza grew tired of the noise. He fired a death beam. It pierced Vegeta's heart. The prince gasped. His eyes glazed over. With his final breath, he begged Goku. He didn't beg for his life. He begged for vengeance. He begged for their lost history. "Kakarot, please, destroy him. For our race, for our pride. He took everything from us." Vegeta died. The Prince of Saiyans lay still in the dirt of a foreign world. Goku buried him. He made a grave in the hard Namekian rock. He stood over it, his back to Frieza. "I promise," Goku said. "I will stop him." Frieza watched this little drama with amusement. He didn't attack. He waited. He wanted to see what this Kakarot could do. He wanted to test his true form against the last survivor. The fight between Goku and Frieza began. It was a spectacle that defied description. They moved so fast they were invisible to the naked eye. The shockwaves of their punches flattened mountains miles away. The ocean boiled. The sky turned purple with energy discharge. Namek began to crumble under the weight of their power. Goku used the Kaioken X-20. He pushed his body beyond its limits, his aura turning a violent crimson. He fired a Kamehameha that engulfed the horizon, a beam of energy so massive it warped the gravity around it. Frieza stopped it with one hand. He held the blast in his palm, smiling. "Is that it?" Frieza asked, not even out of breath. "Is that the power of a Super Saiyan? It stings a little, I suppose." Goku was exhausted. He was out of options. He gathered energy for a spirit bomb. A massive sphere of life energy drawn from the planet itself, from the neighboring stars, from the universe. He threw it. It hit Frieza. It exploded with the force of a collapsing star. It drove Frieza deep into the planet's crust. The ocean rushed in to fill the crater. Silence fell. The sea fighters cheered. Gohan and Krillin hugged each other. They thought it was over. They thought the nightmare was dead. They thought they had won. But nightmares don't die that easily. From the water, a figure emerged. Frieza. He was battered. His tail was cut off. One eye was swollen shut. He was dripping wet. But he was alive. And for the first time, he was genuinely furious. "You!" Frieza hissed, pointing a trembling finger. "You! Filth! You made me hurt. You made me bleed." He fired a beam. Not at Goku. At Piccolo. Piccolo fell, shot through the chest, collapsing instantly. Then Frieza turned his finger toward Krillin. "No!" Goku screamed. "Stop! Don't do it!" Frieza clenched his fist. He smiled a sadistic smile. Pop. goes the weasel. Krillin was lifted into the air by an invisible force. He screamed Goku's name, and then he exploded. There was no body left, just dust, just a fading echo. Frieza laughed. That makes two. Now, who's next? The boy? He looked at Gohan. Goku stood frozen. He looked at the spot where his best friend had been. He felt the absence of Krillin's energy. Something inside Goku snapped. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was a biological reaction to pure, unadulterated trauma. The gentle Saiyan, the one who showed mercy, the one who hit his head as a child and forgot his programming. He vanished. Lightning struck the ground. The ocean rose up in a tsunami. The rocks began to float. Goku's hair flickered, black, gold, black, gold. His eyes rolled, eyes back, then snapped forward. They were teal green. A golden aura exploded around him, brighter than the Namekian suns. His hair stood up, turning the color of molten gold. The rage radiating from him was palpable, a physical weight that pressed down on the entire planet. Frieza stopped laughing. He took a step back. He felt something he hadn't felt since he looked into the eyes of Bardock. Fear. "What?" Frieza whispered. "What are you?" Goku looked at him. His face was a mask of fury. The gentle smile was gone. "I am the hope of the universe," Goku said, his voice calm, terrible, and echoing with power. "I am the answer to all living things that cry out for peace. I am the protector of the innocent. I am the light in the darkness. I am truth, ally to good, nightmare to you." The legend was real. The Super Saiyan was born. And for the first time in his life, the Emperor of the Universe was the one who was afraid. The air on Namek had changed. Before, it was heavy with Frieza's malice, a suffocating pressure that weighed down on the soul. Now, it was vibrating with something else. A golden, scorching heat that radiated from the Saiyan standing on the cliff. It was a clean heat, like the surface of a star brought down to the ground. Frieza stared at Goku. He tried to process what he was seeing. He looked at the hair, which stood up like golden flames frozen in time. He looked at the aura, a raging river of light that flowed upward, defying gravity. But mostly, he looked at the eyes. Teal green, clear, sharp. They were not the eyes of a wild animal, like the Usaru. They were the eyes of a judge. Frieza had seen many things in his life. He had seen stars collapse into black holes. He had seen civilizations burn to ash. He had seen the rarest creatures in the galaxy begging for mercy. But he had never seen this. "Super Saiyan," Frieza whispered. The word tasted like ash in his mouth. It felt ridiculous to say it out loud. "It's a myth, a bedtime story, a delusion of monkeys." But the energy hitting his face was not a myth. It was a physical pressure pushing him back, making his skin prickle. The very air around Goku seemed to warp, unable to contain the density of his existence. Goku didn't speak. He simply walked forward. The ground cracked under his boots, not from weight, but from the sheer density of his power. Each step was a declaration. Frieza, driven by a sudden, sharp spike of insecurity, fired a death beam. It was a move that had killed Dende instantly. It was a move that had pierced Vegeta's heart before the prince could even blink. It moved at the speed of light, a lance of crimson energy designed to end life. Goku tilted his head. The beam missed. It carved a trench into the mountain behind him, melting the rock into slag. But Goku hadn't even blinked. He hadn't raised a guard. He had simply moved his head a fraction of an inch. Frieza's breath hitched. He fired again and again. A barrage of red light, a storm of destruction. Goku walked through it. He slapped the beams away with the back of his hand, as if he were swatting flies. He didn't break his stride. He didn't change his expression. The beams deflected into the ocean, sending geysers of steam shooting miles into the air. Frieza felt a cold knot form in his stomach. It was a sensation he hadn't felt since he was a child, standing in the shadow of his father King Cold. It was the feeling of being small. It was the feeling of being a child again. "Stop mocking me!" Frieza screamed. His voice cracked, losing its composure. He launched himself at Goku, throwing a punch that could shatter a continent. Goku caught it. He caught Frieza's fist in his open palm. The impact created a shockwave that leveled the surrounding rock formations, turning boulders into dust. The ocean was pushed back for miles, but Goku didn't move an inch. He stood like a statue of gold. He squeezed Frieza's hand, the bones grinding together with a sickening sound. Frieza gasped, pulling away, clutching his hand. He looked at the Saiyan with wide, disbelief-filled eyes. "Who are you?" Frieza demanded, his voice trembling. "What are you?" "You know who I am," Goku said. His voice echoed with a strange dual tone, the roar of the beast layered over the speech of the man. "I am the Saiyan, who came all the way from Earth for the sole purpose of beating you. I am the warrior you heard of in legends. I am pure of heart and awakened by fury. That's what I am." Frieza hated him. He hated the speech. He hated the righteousness. But mostly, he hated the look in Goku's eyes. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't fear. It was pity. And for the Emperor of the Universe, pity was worse than death. Frieza realized he couldn't win in a fair fight. The realization was instant, cold, and humiliating. This Super Saiyan was faster. He was stronger. He was angrier. But Frieza was not just a warrior, he was a tyrant. And tyrants do not fight fair. Tyrants flip the board when they are losing the game. He flew up into the sky, high above the battlefield. He looked down at the blue grass, the turquoise oceans, the beauty of the world he had invaded. He saw the potential for life, and he decided to end it. "If I can't have it," Frieza sneered, gathering a ball of purple energy in his hand, "then no one can." "No!" Goku screamed, realizing what was happening. He flew up, but he was too far away. Frieza threw the ball. It wasn't aimed at Goku. It was aimed at the heart of the world. The death ball hit the ground. It didn't explode on the surface like a bomb. It burrowed. It cut through the crust, melted through the mantle, and drilled down into the molten spinning core of Namek. For a second, nothing happened. The world held its breath. Then, the planet screamed, the ground buckled. Massive geysers of lava erupted from the ocean, turning the water into steam instantly. The sky turned a deep apocalyptic red, reflecting the fires below. Lightning, thick and jagged, began to strike the ground randomly, drawn to the destabilized electromagnetic field. The gravity of the planet began to fluctuate. "I held back too much," Frieza laughed, looking at his hands. "I meant to destroy it instantly. But no matter. The core is destabilized. In 5 minutes, this planet will be nothing but space dust." 5 minutes. It was a sentence, a countdown ticking away in the background of the battle. The battlefield transformed. The serene green Namek was gone. It was replaced by a hellscape of rising magma and falling rock. The air became toxic, filled with sulfur and ash. The visibility dropped to zero, illuminated only by the flashes of lightning and the golden glow of the Super Saiyan. This was the stage for the final act, a dying world for a dying empire. The environment itself was now an enemy, the ground dissolving beneath their feet. Goku looked around. He wasn't afraid of the planet dying. He was afraid for his friends. He shouted for Gohan to take Piccolo and leave, to get to the ship. He watched them fly away, a small spark of hope leaving the inferno. "I'm staying," Goku said, turning back to Frieza. "I'm going to finish this." Frieza hovered in the air, his purple and white body illuminated by the red glow of the magma. He looked like a demon lord in his own personal hell. 5 minutes, Frieza taunted. "Can you survive that long, monkey? Can you breathe in space when the ground dissolves beneath your feet? I can. I can survive anywhere." The fight resumed, but the dynamic had changed. The ticking clock added a frantic rhythm to the violence. Every punch had to count. Every second wasted was a second closer to oblivion. Frieza, realizing that his current power level was still insufficient to crush the Golden Warrior, decided to play his final card. "You have pushed me this far," Frieza admitted, landing on a spire of rock that was slowly sinking into the lava. "I am impressed. I truly am. You are the first person since my father to lay a hand on me. So, as a reward, I will show you my full power." Frieza clenched his fists at his sides. He bowed his head. He began to power up. It wasn't the sleek, elegant transformation of his previous forms. This was crude. This was a forcing of the body beyond its natural limits. It was painful to watch. His muscles began to bulge. Veins popped out across his forehead and arms, thick and pulsing like ropes. His body mass increased, his sleek frame becoming bulky and grotesque. He grew wider, thicker. The sleek emperor was gone, replaced by a steroid-fueled monster. His shoulders swelled until they nearly touched his ears. 100%, Frieza groaned. the energy pouring off him like a violet waterfall. Maximum power! The shock wave of his power-up flattened the waves of the magma ocean. It pushed the clouds away. It shook the dying planet even harder. Goku watched him. He didn't attack. He let Frieza reach his peak. It was the Saiyan way. He wanted to beat Frieza at his best. He wanted there to be no excuses. He wanted to break Frieza's spirit, not just his body. When Frieza looked up, his eyes were wild. He launched himself at Goku. The collision was catastrophic. They fought in the air, exchanging blows that rang like thunderclaps. Frieza was faster now. He was stronger. He landed a hit that sent Goku crashing through an island. He followed up, driving Goku deep into the molten rock. He hammered Goku with a desperation born of fear. For a moment, Frieza thought he had won. He hovered, panting, his heavy muscles heaving with the effort. His breath came in ragged gasps. But then, the lava parted. Goku flew out, surrounded by a force field of golden ki. He had a few burns, a few bruises, but his spirit was unbroken. He looked calm, he looked disappointed. "Is that all?" Goku asked. Frieza's eye twitched. The bulk of his 100% form was taking a toll. His energy was dropping rapidly. He was burning through his reserves just to maintain the mass. He was a sprinter trying to run a marathon. He was fighting a losing battle against two enemies, Goku and his own body. The fight dragged on. The planet crumbled around them. Islands sank. Mountains collapsed. The sky turned a bruised purple as the atmosphere vented into space. Frieza became desperate. He realized he was losing. The realization clawed at his mind like a trapped animal. He used cheap tricks. He threw dirt in Goku's eyes. He tried to blow up the ground beneath Goku's feet. He fired energy discs, Kienzan, that could cut through anything. Goku dodged them all. He moved with a fluidity that Frieza couldn't track. And then, something happened that hurt Frieza more than any punch. Goku powered down. His golden hair faded slightly. His aura dimmed. He looked at Frieza with a mixture of disappointment and boredom. He dropped his fighting stance. "I'm done," Goku said. Frieza froze. "What?" "Your energy is dropping," Goku explained calmly, pointing at Frieza's heaving chest. "You can't maintain that form. You've burned yourself out. You've already lost. There's no point in fighting you anymore." Goku turned his back. He turned his back on the Emperor of the Universe. He turned his back on the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. "Go home, Frieza," Goku said over his shoulder. "Live with the shame. Live with the knowledge that a Saiyan beat you." It was the ultimate insult. To be spared, to be treated not as a threat, but as a nuisance. To be treated like a child who had thrown a tantrum and tired himself out. Frieza's mind snapped. The humiliation was too much. The cognitive dissonance shattered his psyche. He couldn't be weaker. He was Frieza. He was the owner of the universe. This monkey was nothing. He was dirt. "I am the strongest in the universe!" Frieza screamed, saliva flying from his mouth. His voice shredded his vocal cords. He summoned 2 energy discs. He threw them at Goku's back. "You will not turn your back on me!" Goku sensed them. He didn't even look. He dodged. The discs spun past him, boomerang-like, cutting through the mountains of ice and rock, circling back. "Frieza!" Goku shouted, sensing the trajectory. "Duck!" Frieza was too blinded by rage to listen. He was focused entirely on killing Goku. He launched himself forward, preparing a blast. He didn't hear the hum of the discs returning behind him. Shing! The sound was wet and final. Frieza stopped mid-air. His expression went blank. He looked down. His torso was sliding off his legs. He had cut himself in half. His own attack, blinded by his own arrogance, had ended him. The discs passed through him and dissipated. The upper half of his body fell to the ground with a heavy thud. His legs collapsed a moment later. Purple blood pooled on the dark rock, sizzling as it touched the hot ground. Frieza lay there, a broken torso, gasping for air. The 100% form vanished, the muscles shrinking, leaving him small and frail again. Goku looked down at him. There was no triumph in Goku's eyes, only sadness. "You did this to yourself," Goku said quietly. Goku turned to leave. He had to get to his ship. The planet was seconds away from exploding. The ground was shaking so violently it was hard to stand. "Wait." The voice was a rasp, a wet, desperate croak. Goku stopped. Frieza dragged his broken body across the rock with his hands. He clawed at the ground, his fingernails breaking. "Help me." It was pathetic. The tyrant who had killed billions, who had erased cultures without a second thought, who had laughed as Planet Vegeta burned, was begging for his life. "Please," Frieza whimpered, tears mixing with the dust on his face. "Don't leave me to die." Goku clenched his fists. He trembled with frustration. He knew he should leave him. Vegeta would have left him. Piccolo would have left him. Frieza deserved to die 1,000 times over. Mercy was a mistake here. But Goku was not Vegeta. He was not a killer at heart. "You fool," Goku whispered. He turned around. He extended a hand. He transferred a small portion of his own energy, golden, life-giving ki, into Frieza's broken body. "That's enough to get you off the planet," Goku said, his voice hard. "Go, find a ship, and never show your face again." Goku flew away, heading for Frieza's ship. Frieza felt the energy coursing through him. It was Saiyan energy. It was pure. It was warm. And he hated it. He hated that he needed it. He hated that a monkey had pitied him. The shame burned hotter than the lava surrounding him. He couldn't live with this. He couldn't live knowing that he owed his life to Kakarot. He would rather die than be saved by him. His pride overrode his survival instinct one last time. "You monkey!" Frieza screamed, gathering the energy Goku had given him into a final blast. He poured every ounce of his remaining life force into his hand. He aimed at Goku's retreating back. "I will kill you!" he fired. A beam of desperate purple light. Goku sensed it. He stopped mid-air. He turned around. He looked at the beam coming toward him. He looked at Frieza, unrepentant to the very end. "You moron!" Goku yelled. Goku fired back. An angry yellow beam of energy. It swallowed Frieza's blast. It swallowed Frieza. It slammed the tyrant into the ground, driving him deep into the exploding core of the planet. There was no scream, just a flash of light. And then, silence. Goku rushed to Frieza's ship. He hit the buttons. It wouldn't start. The systems were damaged. The planet began its final contraction. The ground liquefied. The sky collapsed. Goku flew to his own ship, but it was gone, fallen into a fissure. He was trapped. Namek exploded. It was a silent explosion in the vacuum of space, a flower of fire blooming in the dark, a flash of green light that illuminated the entire solar system, brighter than a sun. And then, nothing. Just dust. Just asteroids. Just the cold silence of the void. But in the debris field, something floated. It wasn't Goku. It was a piece of meat, a torso, a head with one eye swollen shut. Frieza. He was alive. His race was incredibly durable. He could survive in the vacuum of space. He could survive being cut in half. He could survive a planet exploding in his face. He was a cockroach that refused to be crushed. He floated in the dark. It was cold. Absolute zero. The silence was deafening. He drifted. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He could only think. He thought about the pain. It was constant, a dull roar in his nervous system. He thought about the cold seeping into his bones. But mostly he thought about the golden light. He thought about the teal eyes looking down at him with pity. He drifted for days, or maybe weeks. Time had no meaning in the void. He was a piece of space junk, the former ruler of the universe now reduced to debris. He watched the stars spin above him, indifferent to his suffering. He hallucinated. He saw his father laughing at him. He saw the Saiyans he had killed staring at him from the darkness. He saw Goku, turning his back on him over and over again. And then, a light. Not a sun. A spotlight. A massive ship appeared in the darkness. It was familiar. It was sleek, circular, and terrifying. It was the Cold flagship. A claw extended from the ship. It grabbed the broken remains of the Emperor. King Cold had come looking for his son. Frieza was pulled into the airlock, the hiss of oxygen returning, the voices of medics shouting, "He's alive! Barely! Get him into the tank! We need cybernetics! Prepare the mecha enhancements!" Frieza's remaining eye stared up at the ceiling of the medical bay. He was alive. He had survived. But the Frieza who woke up on that table was not the same Frieza who had landed on Namek. That Frieza was proud. That Frieza was elegant. That Frieza was whole. The thing being rebuilt with metal and wires was something else. It was a creature of pure vengeance. A patchwork monster held together by hate. As the anesthesia mask was lowered over his face, Frieza had only one thought, looping in his mind like a broken record. Earth, 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 Kakarot. And as the darkness took him, the nightmare didn't end. It simply changed locations. Waking up was not a relief, it was a shock. Frieza opened his eye, the one that hadn't been swollen shut by the vacuum of space. He expected to see the afterlife. He expected to see the red judgment of King Yemma, or perhaps just an eternal empty blackness. Instead, he saw metal. He was lying on a table in a sterile white room. The air smelled of antiseptic, ozone and burning flesh. He tried to move his arm, but he couldn't feel it. He tried to curl his tail, but there was no sensation. He looked down. Where his left arm used to be, there was a mechanical prosthetic. Cold, gray steel replacing the white bio-armor. It hummed with a low-voltage buzz. He looked at his chest. A metal plate was bolted directly into his flesh, covering the ruin of his torso, where he had cut himself in half. His tail was gone, replaced by a robotic appendage that twitched involuntarily. Even his face was patched with metal, a steel jaw riveted into his skull, holding his head together. He was a patchwork monster, a Frankenstein's creation of biology and technology. He was no longer the perfect, sleek being he had been. He was a broken vase glued back together. "Stabilizing," a medic droid announced, its voice monotone and irritating. "Subject consciousness returning. Vital signs. Acceptable." King Cold stood over the table looking down at his son. He swirled a glass of wine, his face unreadable. He looked at Frieza, not with a father's concern, but with a collector's appraisal of a damaged asset. "You survived," Cold said. "Barely." Frieza tried to speak. He tried to ask where he was, but his vocal cords had been shredded. His voice came out distorted, filtered through a synthesizer in his throat. It sounded metallic, hollow, like a ghost speaking through a radio. "Kakarot," Frieza rasped. The name was static. "The Saiyan is gone," Cold said, taking a sip. "Namek is dust. We scanned the debris field. There is no sign of him. He likely perished in the explosion. But we found you drifting. The scientists have repaired you. You are stronger now, Frieza. Faster. Improved." Frieza clenched his metal fist. He could hear the servos whining. He could feel the cold interface where nerve endings met wire. He hated it. He hated being broken. He hated being fixed. He felt less than himself. But as the anesthesia wore off, the hate focused. It coalesced into a single point of gravity. "Earth," Frieza said. The synthesizer made the words sound like a drill. "We go to Earth?" "Why?" Cold asked, raising an eyebrow. "It is a backwater mudball. It has no resources of value." "Because that is where he will go," Frieza hissed. "If he survived, that is his home. I know he is alive. I can feel it. I will go there. I will kill his friends. I will burn his world. And when he arrives, I will make him watch. I will make him wish he had died on Namek." King Cold smiled. It was a cruel, indulgent smile. "Very well. A hunting trip sounds amusing. I haven't stretched my legs in decades." The flagship set a course. The engines roared to life, vibrating through the table Frieza lay on. And Frieza lay there, listening to the hum of his own mechanical heart, plotting a revenge that would never come to pass. The journey to Earth took a year of sitting in the dark, getting used to the metal limbs, a year of phantom pains, itching where flesh used to be. Frieza spent the time meditating on his hatred, refining it, sharpening it like a blade. He practiced moving his new body, learning the lag time of the servos, adjusting to the cold weight of the steel. When they arrived in the solar system, Frieza stood at the viewport. He looked at the blue planet. It looked so fragile, so breakable. It was a marble suspended in ink. "Shall I destroy it from orbit?" a soldier asked, hand hovering over the weapon controls. "No," Frieza said. "We land. I want to see their faces. I want to see the terror in their eyes when they realize the nightmare has followed them home." They landed in a wasteland of rock and scrub brush. The ship touched down, crushing the landscape. Frieza floated out of the airlock. The gravity of Earth was light, almost non-existent compared to Namek or Vegeta. He felt fast. He felt powerful. "Where is he?" Frieza muttered, scanning the horizon with his organic eye and his mechanical sensor. "Where is the monkey?" Goku was not there. He was still in space, traveling back. But someone else was there. A boy. A teenager with lavender hair and a sword strapped to his back. He wore a jacket with a Capsule Corp logo. He stood alone on a rock, looking down at the invasion force. He looked unimpressed. Frieza sneered. "Who are you? A welcoming committee? Did the Earthlings run out of warriors?" The boy didn't answer. He simply stared at Frieza with eyes that held no fear. "I've come to kill you," the boy said. His voice was calm, matter of fact. Frieza laughed. The soldiers laughed. King Cold chuckled. "Kill me?" Frieza mocked. "You? And what army? Do you know who I am, boy? I am the Emperor of the Universe." The boy didn't summon an army. He simply clenched his fists. The air pressure dropped. The rocks began to levitate. The dust swirled around his boots. Frieza's mechanical eye zoomed in, the sensors whirred. He saw the boy's hair flicker, black to gold. Black to gold. "No," Frieza whispered. The old fear, the Namekian fear, clawed at his throat. "Impossible!" The boy shouted. A burst of golden light erupted from him. His hair stood up, blazing like a yellow fire. His eyes turned teal green. The aura was unmistakable. Another one. There was another Super Saiyan. Frieza panicked. He didn't think. He didn't strategize. He fired a death ball. A massive sphere of energy meant to vaporize the continent. The boy caught it. He caught it with one hand, and then, casual as a toss, he threw it into the sky. Frieza fired a beam. The boy dodged. Frieza couldn't track him. The sensors in his mechanical eye couldn't keep up. The boy was faster than Goku had been on Namek. The boy appeared above him. He drew his sword. The blade caught the sunlight, gleaming silver. Shing. Frieza didn't feel pain. He just felt a sudden shift in perspective. He saw the sky spinning. He saw the ground rushing up. He saw his own legs standing there, without a body attached to them. He had been cut in half again. Before he could even scream, before he could even process the indignity of it, the boy moved again, a blur of steel. Shing, shing, shing. Frieza was diced. He was reduced to pieces of meat and metal falling through the air. The boy extended a hand. A blast of yellow energy. Frieza saw the light coming. He had one final thought. Not again. The blast hit him. Every cell, every circuit, every scrap of biology and technology was vaporized. The Emperor of the Universe was dead. And this time, there was no body left to find. Death, for Frieza, was not the end. It was a transfer. He woke up. He wasn't in a void. He wasn't in a fire. He wasn't in the presence of a judge. He was in a meadow. The grass was impossibly green. The sky was a blindingly cheerful blue. Flowers bloomed in riots of color, pinks, yellows, bright oranges. Frieza tried to move. He couldn't. He looked down. He was wrapped in a cocoon, a white silky web that bound him tight, leaving only his face exposed. He was hanging from a tree branch, swaying gently in the breeze like a grotesque ornament. "Where?" Frieza whispered. "Where am I?" Music started. It wasn't the ominous drumming of war. It wasn't the silence of space. It was a marching band, a cheerful, high-pitched, tootling melody that grated on the ears. Then they appeared. Angels, fairies, teddy bears with wings. Small, cute creatures floating around him, playing trumpets and beating tiny drums. They smiled, they giggled, they radiated pure, unadulterated happiness. "Welcome," they sang. "Welcome to Earth's hell." Frieza stared at them. His eye twitched. "This is a mistake," he said, his voice rising in panic. "I am a tyrant. I am a destroyer. Send me to the fire. Send me to the jagged rocks. I demand to see the manager." "Oh no," a teddy bear chirped, flying close to his face. "You were a very bad boy. So, you have to stay here and watch the parade." The parade began. Animals on unicycles, flowers dancing, clouds forming happy faces. "Make it stop," Frieza begged. "We can't," the fairies giggled. "It's forever." And they marched, round and round the tree, playing the same song, over and over and over. This was Frieza's hell. For a being who craved dominance, who thrived on fear and suffering, this was the ultimate torture. Joy, innocence, pointlessness. He was helpless. He was immobile. He was forced to watch happiness, unable to destroy it. Hours turned into days, days into years. He tried to scream. The fairies just clapped, thinking he was singing along. He tried to sleep. The music woke him up. He tried to shut his mind down, to retreat into the dark corners of his psyche. But the song was relentless. Toot, toot, toot. It eroded his sanity. It chipped away at his pride like water dripping on a stone. He hung in the cocoon, a butterfly that would never hatch, trapping his rage inside a shell of silk. He watched the teddy bears dance, and he felt his mind fraying at the edges. He counted the seconds. He counted the blades of grass. He replayed his fights with Goku. He analyzed his mistakes. I was arrogant, he thought, as a fairy dusted his nose with glitter. I was sloppy. I didn't train. I relied on my natural power. I assumed I was the ceiling of the universe. In the hell of cuteness, a resolve began to form. A cold, hard diamond of determination. If I ever get out of here, Frieza promised himself, I will not make the same mistake. I will not be a prodigy. I will be a master. 14 years passed. 14 years of the parade. 14 years of the song. Then, one day, the sky of hell cracked open. Sorbet, a loyal officer of the remnants of the Frieza Force, had gathered the Earth's Dragon Balls. He made a wish. Resurrect Lord Frieza. The dragon granted it. But there was a catch. Frieza had been destroyed in pieces. Frieza's soul was ripped from the cocoon. The fairies vanished. The music stopped. He woke up on the deck of Sorbet's ship. But he wasn't whole. He was a pile of meat chunks. A gruesome heap of biological matter quivering on the floor. An eye here. A piece of tail there. Lord Frieza, Sorbet gasped, horrified. Get him to the regeneration tank. Quickly! Don't let him die! The minions scooped him up. They placed the pieces into a tank filled with advanced healing fluid. For days, Frieza floated in the liquid. It was a strange sensation. He wasn't dead, but he wasn't fully alive. He felt his cells re-knitting. He felt his bones fusing. The metal parts from his cyborg form were rejected, pushed out as his natural biology took over. He grew back his tail. He grew back his arm. He grew back his face. The scars of Trunks' sword were erased. When he emerged from the tank, he was whole. He was in his first form, small, sleek, white. He stepped out of the machine, dripping wet. He cracked his neck. He looked at his hands, real hands, not metal claws. He flexed his fingers, feeling the blood pumping through them. It is good to be back, Frieza said softly. Sorbet bowed. Sire, the Saiyan Goku, he has become even stronger. He defeated Majin Buu. Frieza paused. Majin Buu. The monster his father warned him never to challenge. I see, Frieza said, drying himself off. Then I cannot simply go and fight him. I would lose again. Perhaps we should avoid Earth, Sorbet suggested nervously. We could rebuild the empire elsewhere. Frieza smiled. No, I have a better idea. I have never trained in my life, Sorbet. I was born this strong. I was a prodigy. But if a prodigy actually applies himself, what do you think happens? He clenched his fist, crushing the air. I will train for 4 months, and then I will unlock a power that will make the Super Saiyan look like a candle held up to the sun. The training was brutal, Frieza, who had never lifted a finger in effort, tortured himself. He beat his subordinates until they couldn't stand. Then he beat the walls. He pushed his body to the brink of failure. He focused his energy. He condensed it. He learned to control the overflow that had caused his 100% form to burn out on Namek. He meditated. He visualized Goku. He killed Goku in his mind 1,000,000 times. He imagined Goku's face as he punched the training dummy. For the first time, Frieza sweated. For the first time, he felt muscle ache. For the first time, he felt the satisfaction of earning power rather than simply having it. 4 months later, the Frieza Force returned to Earth. Goku and Vegeta were there. They had attained the power of gods, Super Saiyan Blue. Frieza stepped out of his ship. He didn't bring an army this time to hide behind. He brought them as an audience. "Welcome," Frieza said. "I hope you've kept in shape, monkeys." The fight began. Frieza, in his final, sleek white form, fought Goku in his base form. They were evenly matched. It was a dance of martial arts, a display of pure skill. Frieza moved with a precision he had never possessed before. "Enough warm-ups," Goku said. "Show me what you learned." Frieza grinned. "With pleasure." He powered up. It wasn't the bulky, vein-popping transformation of Namek. It was a change in frequency, a change in color. A blinding light enveloped him. It was so bright, it hurt to look at. And when it faded, Frieza stood there. He was gold. From head to toe, his bio-armor shone with the luster of polished gold. His skin was purple, contrasting with the metallic sheen. It was a form designed to mock the Super Saiyan, but also to surpass it. "Golden Frieza," he announced. "I chose this color to mock your Super Saiyan tradition. But the power is entirely my own." He fought Goku. And for the first time, Frieza was winning. He was faster. He was stronger. He knocked Goku around the battlefield, pummeling the Godki Saiyan into the dirt. He laughed. He reveled in it. The torture of hell, the tedium of training, it was all worth it for this moment. But Frieza had made a mistake. A fatal flaw in his personality that no amount of training could fix. Impatience. He had rushed to Earth the moment he achieved the form. He hadn't mastered it. He hadn't learned to regulate the stamina drain. As the fight dragged on, the gold began to tarnish. His breath came in gasps. His punches lost their snap. The power was slipping through his fingers like water. Vegeta stepped in, fresh, angry. Vegeta turned Super Saiyan Blue. He beat Frieza. He beat him without mercy, venting decades of trauma. He knocked Frieza out of his golden form, leaving him kneeling in the dirt, back to his white, fragile self. Frieza looked up at Vegeta. He saw the energy blast charging in Vegeta's hand. He saw death coming again. "No," Frieza whispered. "I am the Emperor. I do not lose." He slammed his hand onto the earth. He poured all his remaining energy into the planet's core. Boom! Earth exploded. Frieza survived in the vacuum, laughing. He had won. He had destroyed them all. Even in defeat, he had taken the board with him. But then, time reversed. Whiz. The angel attendant of the destroyer god Beerus tapped his staff. Time rewound 3 minutes. Frieza found himself back on his knees, his hand raised to strike the earth. Before he could bring it down, a blue beam pierced his chest. Goku. Goku had learned from his mistake. He didn't hesitate. He fired a Kamehameha that vaporized Frieza instantly. "Go back to hell," Goku said. And Frieza did. He woke up in the cocoon. The music started. The fairies returned. Toot toot toot. "Welcome back," they sang. Frieza screamed a silent internal scream of pure frustration. He was back in the web, back in the nightmare of joy. But this time something was different. He didn't break. He didn't despair. He hung in the cocoon, listening to the music, and he began to think. He began to simulate battles in his mind. He began to master his mind, realizing that if he couldn't control his body, he would control his spirit. He waited, because he knew the universe wasn't done with him yet. The tournament of power was coming, and the Emperor would have one more chance to rise. Time in hell flowed like molasses, sticky, sweet, and suffocating. Frieza hung in his cocoon. He couldn't move his arms. He couldn't move his legs. He couldn't speak. The only thing he had was his mind. For the first few months, he raged. He screamed internally until his psychic voice was hoarse. But rage, he learned, was inefficient. It burned energy. It clouded judgment. So he stopped raging. He started simulating. He built a dojo in his mind, a wide room, perfectly silent, where no fairies could enter. In this room, he summoned Goku. He fought him. He analyzed every punch Goku had ever thrown. He analyzed the speed of the Super Saiyan transformation. He dissected the movements of the god forms. He fought Goku 1,000 times a day in his mind. At first, he lost. Then he began to draw. Then he began to win. He learned to control his ki without moving a muscle. He learned to compress his energy, making it dense and hard like a diamond. He realized that his golden form had failed because it leaked power like a cracked vessel. He spent years in that cocoon, mentally patching the cracks, visualizing a perfect seal. The teddy bears marched below him, singing their songs. But Frieza didn't hear them anymore. He was too busy conquering the universe inside his own skull. It began with a visit. Frieza was deep in a mental simulation, dissecting Vegeta this time. When the music stopped, the fairies scattered, sensing a presence that terrified even the demons of hell. The air grew heavy. Footsteps echoed on the grass. Familiar footsteps. Not the light, skipping steps of the angels, but the heavy, confident tread of a warrior. Frieza opened his eyes. Goku stood there. He looked serious. He looked desperate. He wasn't smiling. "Hello, Frieza," Goku said. "Well, well," Frieza replied, his voice dripping with sarcasm, even though he couldn't move his head. "To what do I owe the pleasure? Have you come to sprinkle glitter on me? Or perhaps you wish to join the parade? "We need you," Goku said, cutting straight to the point. "There's a tournament of power. 8 universes are fighting for survival. If we lose, our entire universe gets erased. Everything, including you, including hell." Frieza paused. Erased. That meant him too. That meant the end of his empire, his revenge, his existence. It meant the void would swallow his ambition. "And you want me to fight for you?" Frieza laughed softly. "Why would I save a universe that has rejected me? Why would I save a universe filled with monkeys?" "Because if you win," Goku said, stepping closer, "we'll bring you back to life. For real this time. With the Dragon Balls. A resurrection. A second chance. A way out of the cocoon." Frieza looked at Goku. He saw the honesty in the Saiyans' eyes. Goku was naive. He was annoying, but he wasn't a liar. Goku would honor a deal, even with the devil. "One condition," Frieza said. "I want to be revived after the tournament, regardless of the outcome. Even if we lose, I want to spend my final moments outside of this cocoon. Promise me that, monkey, and I will lend you my strength." "I promise," Goku said. Baba the witch severed the connection to the cocoon. The silk snapped. Frieza fell to the ground. He stood up, stretching his limbs, hearing the satisfying pop of his joints. A halo floated over his head, marking him as a dead soul on a temporary pass. He looked at his hands. He felt the power coursing through him. Power he had refined through mental simulation for years. It was calm. It was controlled. "Shall we go?" Frieza smiled, a wicked glint in his eye. "I haven't killed anyone in... Oh, it feels like an eternity. My hands are itching." They walked out of hell together, the savior and the destroyer, a balance of light and dark that would shake the multiverse. They arrived at the arena, the world of void. It was a place outside of space and time. There were no stars. There was no horizon. Just an infinite black nothingness that stretched on forever. It was absolute silence, broken only by the hum of the massive spinning top that served as the fighting stage. Warriors from 8 universes were gathered there. Beings of immense power. Cyborgs, magical girls, wolves, gods of destruction watching from the stands. The pressure in the air was heavy enough to crush a normal human. Frieza looked around. He wasn't intimidated. He was bored. "So much riffraff," he muttered, flicking his tail. "It smells like a zoo. Do they really expect us to lower ourselves to fighting dogs and insects?" The Grand Priest, an angel of terrifying authority, announced the start. Let the tournament begin. Chaos erupted. Explosions rocked the stage. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void. Mountains of rock were shattered. Frieza didn't rush in. He walked. He strolled through the battlefield like he was walking through a garden. When a warrior attacked him, he didn't panic. He simply pointed a finger. Zap! He disabled his enemies with surgical precision. He didn't kill them. Killing was against the rules, but he made them wish they were dead. He tortured them psychologically, whispering their failures into their ears before knocking them off the edge into the void. He enjoyed it. It was a buffet of suffering. He found a fast warrior named Dispo. He fought him not with brute strength, but with cruelty, trapping him in a cage of beams. He fought a destroyer in training named Toppo, laughing as the planet cracked around them. But amidst the chaos, he watched Goku. He watched Vegeta. He analyzed their new forms. He saw the limits of their power. And then he met his match, Jiren, the Pride Trooper from Universe 11, a being of absolute strength, a wall that could not be moved, a being whose power felt like a black hole, inescapable and crushing. When Goku fought Jiren, the shockwaves shook the infinite void. Frieza watched from a high rock, his arms crossed. He saw Goku unlock a new state, Ultra Instinct, a power that moved without thought. Frieza felt a twinge of jealousy. Another level? He thought, clenching his fist. Does the monkey have no ceiling? Does he always have to be one step ahead? But he pushed the jealousy down. He was playing a longer game now. He wasn't just a brawler. He was a strategist. He waited for the right moment. He waited until everyone was exhausted. Until only the Titans remained. The end of the tournament. The arena was shattered. The time limit was almost up. Jiren stood tall, battered but unbroken, a monolith of power. Goku was down, his body ravaged by the toll of Ultra Instinct. His silver hair faded back to black. Android 17 was hiding in the rubble, barely holding on. Universe 7 was on the brink of erasure. Frieza stood up from the rocks. He wiped the dust from his purple skin. He cracked his neck. He looked at the situation. It was hopeless, and Frieza hated hopelessness. I suppose, Frieza sighed, I have to do everything myself. He turned golden. The light illuminated the dark void, casting long shadows. He charged Jiren. It was a brutal, desperate fight. Frieza fought with everything he had. He used cheap tricks. He used rocks. He bit. He clawed. He abandoned his aristocratic dignity and fought like a cornered rat. He poured all his refined mental training into every blow. But Jiren was too strong. He swatted Frieza away, crushing his tail, breaking his spirit. Frieza hit a floating piece of debris, coughing up blood. He lay there, staring up at the purple sky of the void. He was tired. He was dead. He was about to be erased. Frieza! He looked over. Goku was standing up. His hair was flickering in and out of Super Saiyan, his body trembling with exhaustion. We have to do this together, Goku said. Frieza looked at him. He looked at the man who had humiliated him on Namek, the man who had killed him on Earth, the man who represented everything he hated. Together? Frieza spat the word out like poison. Don't make me vomit. It's the only way, Goku said, offering a hand. Throw me. I'll take him down with me. Frieza looked at the hand. He looked at Jiren, who was charging a final blast that would wipe them all out. He made a choice, not out of friendship, not out of goodness, but out of a refusal to lose, out of a refusal to let his story end here. "Very well," Frieza said, taking the hand. "But you owe me, monkey. You owe me everything." Frieza powered up one last time. He stood side by side with Goku. They charged. It is an image burned into the history of the multiverse. The Golden Emperor and the Super Saiyan flying in perfect synchronization. Goku threw Frieza. Frieza created a platform of energy for Goku to jump off. "Go!" Frieza screamed. They slammed into Jiren together, their energy mixed, purple and gold. They pushed, they roared, they drove the unstoppable wall back toward the edge of the arena. Frieza tackled Jiren. Goku pushed them both down. Gravity took hold. Frieza, Goku and Jiren fell off the stage. They fell into the void. "No!" Jiren screamed. "Yes!" Frieza laughed, a maniacal, victorious laugh that echoed into eternity. They vanished into the darkness. Android 17 was the last one standing on the stage. Universe 7 had won. Back in the world of Void's spectator stands, the erased universes were restored by 17's wish. The dragon roared, resetting the multiverse. Frieza sat on a rock, his halo glowing. He was dead again. He had won, but he was going back to hell. He accepted it. He had proven his point. He had proven he was essential. He had proven that even a villain is necessary for balance. Whis, the angel, walked over to him. "Lord Frieza," Whis said, "you performed well." Whis raised his staff. A light touched Frieza's chest. The halo shattered. Frieza gasped. He felt a rush of warmth. His heart beat. His blood flowed. The cold sensation of death evaporated. "A gift from Lord Beerus," Whis explained, "for saving the universe. It seems he has taken a liking to you." Frieza stood up. He touched his chest. He was alive. Truly, fully alive. He looked at Goku. Goku was grinning, giving him a thumbs up, wrapped in bandages. "Don't think this changes anything," Frieza said coldly. "I will still kill you one day. I will still conquer the universe." "I know," Goku laughed. "I'll be waiting." Frieza turned away. He summoned his ship. He left Earth. He left the sea fighters celebrating. He had an empire to rebuild. But as he sat in his chair, looking out at the stars, Frieza knew something. He knew that being golden wasn't enough. Goku had Ultra Instinct. Vegeta had new forms. Jiren existed. Broly existed. If Frieza wanted to rule, he needed to go further. He needed to do something he had never done before. He needed to disappear. Frieza did not go back to Earth immediately. He went to the fringes of the galaxy. He found a planet he had conquered years ago. A planet with a secret. It contained a hyperbolic time chamber, a dimension where time moved differently. One day, outside was 1 year inside. Frieza stood before the door. He remembered the 4 months of training that had unlocked his golden form. That was a rush job. That was a sprint. Now he needed a marathon. 10 days, Frieza told his minions. Do not disturb me for 10 days. He entered the chamber. Inside it was a white void, infinite. Empty, just like the world of Void, but quieter. The gravity was heavy, the air was thin, there was nothing to look at, nothing to hear. Frieza walked into the nothingness. 10 days outside meant 10 years inside. 10 years of isolation, 10 years of focus, 10 years of silence. He didn't just train his body, he trained his mind. He visualized the colors of the universe. Gold was bright, gold was flashy, but what was stronger than light? Darkness, gravity. A black hole absorbs everything. It is the ultimate authority. It bends light. It bends time. Frieza began to condense his Kai. He took the brilliant, shining energy of his golden form and crushed it. He compressed it down, layer by layer, making it denser, heavier. He suffered. His bones creaked under the pressure. His mind strained against the boredom. But he remembered the teddy bears. He remembered the marching band. Compared to that, this white void was paradise. Year 1. He mastered his golden form, removing the stamina drain completely. Year 2. He surpassed his limits. Year 5. He sat in the lotus position, floating, not moving for months at a time. He became a statue of will. He grew stronger. He grew colder. The gold tarnished, turning dark. The purple skin on his face turned black as obsidian. The white armor turned gray. He stopped screaming when he powered up. He stopped wasting energy. He became a singularity. By the 10th year, Frieza opened his eyes. They weren't red anymore. They were burning with a cold, dark intensity. He looked at his hands. They were black, armored in a biosuit that absorbed the light around it. Finally, Frieza whispered. His voice didn't echo. The darkness swallowed the sound. He walked out of the chamber. On the planet Cereal, a battle was raging. Goku and Vegeta were fighting Gas, a warrior who had wished to be the strongest in the universe. They were losing. Gas was a monster of raw power, fueled by a cursed wish. Suddenly, a ship descended. The hatch opened. Frieza stepped out. He didn't float, he walked. His steps were heavy, shaking the ground. Gas charged him. "Frieza, I will kill you!" Frieza didn't blink. He didn't posture. He simply thrust his hand forward. His hand passed through Gas's chest. It wasn't a beam. It was physical force. He ripped the heart out of the strongest warrior in the universe as if he were plucking a flower. Gas fell, dead. The wish meant nothing against 10 years of work. Goku and Vegeta stared. They were in their strongest forms. Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. They were gods. "Frieza?" Goku asked, confused. "How? When?" Frieza smiled. It wasn't the manic smile of Namek. It was the calm, terrifying smile of a CEO who has just bought out his competition. "I found a room of spirit and time," Frieza explained casually, stepping over Gas's body. "I trained for 10 years. It seems I have surpassed you again." 10 years? Vegeta gasped. "Show us," Goku said, dropping into a stance. Frieza sighed. Very well. He clenched his fists. He didn't scream. He simply let the power out. The sky turned black. The ground caved in. A heavy, suffocating pressure pinned Goku and Vegeta to the floor. It felt like the weight of a galaxy. Frieza's body shifted. The white became black. The purple became silver. Black Frieza, he vanished. Thud. Thud. Goku and Vegeta were on the ground. They were knocked out cold. They hadn't even seen him move. He had hit them both in the stomach so fast that time seemed to skip a beat. Frieza stood over them. He looked at his two greatest rivals, lying defeated at his feet. He could kill them. He could end it right here. A single beam for each. He raised his finger. The tip glowed purple. He aimed at Goku's head. Silence. Then Frieza lowered his hand. The glow faded. No, Frieza said to himself. Not today. Today, I just wanted you to know my place. He turned his back on them. He didn't need to kill them to prove he was better. He had already won. He had won the psychological war. He was the goalpost again. He was the ceiling. He walked back to his ship. Come, Berry Blue, he called to his attendant. We have work to do. The universe won't conquer itself. The ship lifted off. It ascended through the atmosphere, leaving the two Saiyans unconscious in the dirt, dreaming of a power they could not yet reach. Frieza sat in his hover chair. He swirled a glass of wine. He looked out at the infinite stars. He had been a prince. He had been a corpse. He had been a prisoner. Now he was a god. And the reign of Frieza was eternal. And so the Emperor returns to the stars. He drifts through the cold vacuum, a black diamond in the rough, watching over his domain. His story is one of power, yes, but it is also a story of persistence, a story of a being who refused to accept defeat, who crawled out of hell itself to reclaim his throne. He is the proof that even in the dark you can find a way to shine. He is the darkness that makes the light shine brighter. He is the order in the chaos. He is the silence at the end of the scream. As you lie here, safe in the dark, let the weight of the universe drift away. You do not need to conquer worlds. You do not need to train for 10 years. You only need to rest. The galaxy is vast. The stars are quiet. And you are safe. Sleep now, warriors. The Emperor is watching. Good night.